So most of us are familiar with hurricanes because, well, where we live, there's many hurricanes have happened, like Katrina. I don't know if any of y'all are alive for it, but Camille. There's just been the places that we live are very hurricane prone, and I'm going to talk to you today about how they form and where they form. And where they form is most of them form off the coast of Africa, off the most of the time the western coast of Africa. They start. It starts as a thunderstorm, and most of the time it's like a thunderstorm, and then under it it's a very low pressure. So all the warm water and warm air and everything rushes in and goes up and forms a really big cloud, and then and most of the time we call it a hurricane. But if you ever hear a tropical cyclone or anything else like that, it's still the same thing. Either it occurs in a different area or it's just somebody calling it something different. And then what it needs to form is it has to have warm air and moisture and warm water. So that's why Africa is ideal for forming a hurricane, because it has all three of those things. And most of the time it forms between like June and November, or July and November, because if you think about it, that's when it's the warmest. You can't have a hurricane in very low temperatures. And then after it starts forming and it gets up to be a big cloud, if it forms north of the equator, it spins counterclockwise. If it forms south of the equator, it forms counterclockwise. And that's one of the that's the main reason that it's decided how it spins. And then after it starts spinning, it forms something called the eye. And the eye of the hurricane, if you were in it, you would think there was nothing wrong. It's just a little cloudy outside. But if you just wait a few minutes, you're going to get to the eye wall. That is where the most harsh things of a hurricane is. It's really devastating, especially on a big hurricane. And after the eye forms, it starts spinning, and most of the time it goes across the Atlantic Ocean. So from the ones we see go from Africa to the Atlantic Ocean. Some of them form off the coast of like Japan and all that, and they come across the Pacific and come into they hit the islands of like Hawaii and places like that, and they come and they hit California or Mexico. But after they start going across the ocean, they keep on going and they keep on building strength, because all that warm air is in the Atlantic Ocean. Keep on going, keep on going. But sometimes something that weakens them is they'll go up the coast and they'll keep on going up, and they'll go to like Nova Scotia, and that kind of weakens them because there's not enough warm air and moisture. But if they eventually get inside the Gulf of Mexico, that's when they really get big, because they start getting all that moisture and air and warm. Because warmth is really what fuels it. It's like an engine, and it's fueled by warm air and water. And then after that, it goes in, and whenever it hits land, that's the strongest it's going to be. The strongest it's ever going to be is when it makes landfall. So whenever it hits the land, it just all of a sudden drops off. But the main things is like, after it hits land, there's a ton of wind damage. Your trees getting knocked over, and it eventually pushes the water and starts storm surge. And that's when all the flooding happened, like you saw in Katrina in 2005. And then once it hits land, like up here, we didn't feel like what it did in New Orleans, because after it hits land, it continues to weaken, and then eventually just turns into rain, and then eventually just turns into nothing. All right, that's all I have to say about hurricanes.